Could a Palaeohispanic text inscribed on an Iron Age artefact that belonged to the Vascones culture be related to Basque? That's one of the arguments put forward in a new paper published in the journal Antiquity. Few inscriptions attributed to the Vascones culture have been found, which has led some researchers to conclude they were a pre-literate society. However, this inscribed artifact changes that prevailing view, and an analysis of the text provides some intriguing insights into its relationship with the Basque and Iberian languages. Let's get into it. During the late Iron Age, a group of people living in the Western Pyrenees were referred to as the Vascones by classical writers such as Livy, Ptolemy, and Pliny. They inhabited the area between the upper course of the Ebro River and the southern basin of the Western Pyrenees, which corresponds with parts of modern-day Navarre, Aragon, and La Rioja. Very little is known about the pre-Roman Vasconic groups in the region, since there have been few archaeological investigations of their settlements. Information about them mostly comes from Roman written sources. Over the years, a few epigraphic examples have been found at Vasconic sites. However, these are limited to some locally issued coins, a mosaic inscription from Andelo, a fragmented bronze plate from Aranguren, and an inscribed stone from Alite. Therefore, the nature of the Vasconic language is poorly understood. There's a lot more information on other Palaeohispanic languages, with just over 100 examples of Tartessian, 2,500 of Iberian, and 300 of Celt-Iberian. However, although there are few inscriptions in Vasconic, it did survive into the Roman and Germanic periods, whereas the other Palaeohispanic languages did not. Given the rarity of Vasconic inscriptions, the artifact found in the Irulegi Hillfort is a very important discovery. From the late Bronze Age onwards, Europe saw a trend towards elevated defensive settlements. The prehistoric Irulegi Hillfort is one such settlement, located as it is on top of a mountain in the Iron Valley with good visibility of the surrounding land and access to natural resources. It was also positioned at a natural crossroads, giving it control over communication routes. The Hillfort is part of a landscape that was occupied in multiple time periods and includes a medieval castle as well. Excavations on the castle started in 2007, but investigations of the neighbouring Hillfort didn't begin until 2018. The Hillfort is remarkably well preserved. It was built sometime in the Middle to Late Bronze Age, so between the 15th and 11th centuries BCE. Occupation then continued until it was destroyed and abandoned in the 1st century BCE. This coincided with the Social War, a Roman civil conflict between the governor Quintus Sertorius and Pompey the Great, so was probably a direct result of this. Archaeologists have found evidence for the date of destruction and abandonment of the settlement in the domestic dwellings labelled as 3000 and 6000. The artefact inscribed with the Vasconic text was recovered from stratigraphic unit 2000 near the entrance in building 6000. The layer was made up of clay silt sediments containing a high amount of carbonate, and may have been the result of a thatched roof burning and collapsing. Burnt adobe and carbonized wood was also found in the lower part of the layer. Evidence for burning is found across the settlement. This and the presence of many weapons found in domestic dwellings are both indicative of the destruction of the site in some sort of a conflict. Artifacts dating to the 1st century BCE include coins, pottery, animal bones, and the remnants of metal production. The pottery includes imported ware that's possibly Campanian or Etrurian and Calenian. There's also other ceramics similar to Aquitania Tarraconensis wares, as well as the inscribed artifact. Other evidence for literacy comes from graffiti on 2 pottery sherds and a bone stylus that would have been for writing on wax. The inscribed artifact is a bronze hand, now referred to as the Irulegi Hand. It's made up of 53.2% tin, 40.9% copper and 2.2% lead. The hand measures 14.31 by 12.79 centimeters and weighs 35.9 grams. Some of the fingertips have not survived, but those that have show the outline of fingernails. At the base of the hand there is a hole which was probably made to attach it to a wooden support. It's unlikely that it was suspended since there are no wear marks around the hole. Fragments of animal bone that were close to the hand in the same deposit gave radiocarbon dates of 146 BCE to 67 and 334 to 2 BCE. Since the typology of the hand is in line with these dates, the researchers think it was created in the 1st century BCE. On the back of the hand, there are 4 lines of text engraved into the metal. These were only identified once the artifact was cleaned. They are meant to be read with the fingers pointing down. The research team were able to identify how exactly the inscriptions were made. Firstly, 3 guides were laid out. Secondly, the signs were incised over the guides. Thirdly, the signs were further highlighted by punching closely spaced dots into them. The layout of the signs suggests that the inscription wasn't well planned, with the engraver running out of space, making corrections and punching dots outside of the lines. This is the text. It was probably made using an iron burin, since such tools have been found in habitational structure 6000. The researchers aren't sure if the same person carried out both stages of the text production, the first stage using the esgraffito technique to incise the text, and the second stage highlighting the signs by punching dots. Other Palaeohispanic inscriptions were not made using this 2-step process. Celt-Iberian texts were made using the punching technique, and Iberian texts were made using the esgraffito technique, but neither of these languages were engraved using both. The 2-step process is also rare for Latin inscriptions, with the only example being a silver patera found at Bourges in France. 18 different signs were identified on the hand. They belong to the family of Palaeohispanic semi-syllabaries, but due to certain features of the signs, are classed as a different subsystem. This is further evidenced by the T sign, which has only been found on Vasconic coin legends. The first word in the text is sorioneku, which is very similar to the modern-day Basque word zorioneko, meaning of good fortune. This could be a coincidence, but since the 2 words that make up zorioneko are of a very early date in the Basque language, and considering that the area where the hand was found is in Basque territory, there's a chance of a connection. However, the U ending would not be expected. If the hand was for apotropaic purposes, which means to ward off evil, then this first word is likely to be the name of a deity invoked for protection. Another word, araucon, appears to be a verbal form and is similar to the Basque form of the auxiliary verb zeraucon, meaning to give. An auxiliary verb is a helping verb. If the hand is a votive dedication, then this verb makes sense within the text. The researchers think the word otirton refers to a toponym. Akari appears in 2 Iberian texts as well. However, these are about economic matters, very different to the votive dedication that the Irulegi hand is likely to be. Given the context, the researchers are able to hypothesize the meaning of the rest of the signs, but overall they are seen as quite obscure. The text probably starts with a dedication to a divinity before mentioning the name of the person making the offering, then discusses a place and the object that's being given. Only a few objects similar to the Irulegi hand have been found on the Iberian Peninsula. A lead artifact shaped into a realistic hand discovered at the Iron Age site of El Pu de Acala, and 2 monuments from the lower Ebro Valley, one displaying 5 hands and the other displaying 1 hand. These also show the back of the right hand. Classical Greek writers said that the Iberians cut off the heads and hands of enemies and hung them around their waists or at the entrance to a house, a temple, or a settlement. It's possible that these other 3 hand representations are related to that particular custom. However, the Irulegi hand appears to have had a ritual purpose. Similar representations have been found in Vasconic and Iberian areas, and in other cultures outside of the Iberian Peninsula, such symbols were common at that time. When I saw the hand, I immediately thought of the Hamza or Hand of Fatima, a common apotropaic device in the Mediterranean and the Near East. I talked about it in my dissertation on the evil eye belief system. Reading the text as a votive dedication makes sense in my mind. The connection to Basque is interesting. If you want to read more about it, the paper is open access and referenced in the description below. It goes into a lot more linguistic detail on different aspects of the text. Some of the Palaeohispanic languages are quite mysterious. I think that only Lusitanian and Celt-Iberian have been classified into a language family, the Indo-European language family. Aquitanian, Celt-Iberian, and Tartessian have not been classified. Aquitanian is also thought to be related to Basque. I love reading about undeciphered scripts and language isolates because there's probably so much information about the ancient past that's just waiting to be unlocked. If only we could decipher the scripts and understand the origins of certain language isolates, I think we could learn a lot. That's it. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. Thank you to my patrons and channel members, and I'll see you next time.